Okay, now we're going to continue on looking at Christianity versus Islam. Now, last time we looked at immigration, okay, where a lot of the Muslim nations are, well, I was going to say emptying out, but they're moving into other nations like Europe and America, Australia, and also coming into New Zealand. And what we talked about last week is the immigration from other countries can change the culture of a country. Okay, because the more of one particular population you get, the culture changes. The culture changes, and immigrants need to accept the New Zealand way of life. Okay, when they come in here, but what they want to do is they want to change the culture to their way of life from where they have come from. Okay, so yeah. So okay. Do you want to come up here? So they've come from a country which they've sort of left and saying that the country is terrible country, so we'll go to another country. But the problem is they're trying to make our country like the country which they've come from. So all we're asking is for them, that those that come and immigrate to New Zealand, is just to assimilate and to adopt to adopt the culture of the country, okay? And we have freedoms of religion. So they can bring their religion over, but don't, they can practice it as much as they like, unless it encroaches on our freedoms of religion, okay? So, for example, years ago, we don't hear it much anymore, but churches used to ring bells, bell ringing, and that was a come to worship, and so people would come and worship. You'd have the boys ringing the bells, ding dong, and but now we have seems to be having a different culture where there's a different call to worship, and that is from the Islamic nation or the people that come over here. So we don't want them to encroach or denigrate our culture, or to bring our culture down and our freedoms down. We want to be able to just continue to live the way we've always lived without them trying to interfere. We'll look at that a little bit in a moment. So each immigrant group can retain its own culture. We're not against their culture at all. That's what the freedom of our country is. Okay, we have this freedom in our country, and we're allowing them to come in. But that freedom, we need to make sure that they don't encroach onto our freedoms and take our freedoms away. So they can retain their own culture, just like in language, as long as it doesn't interfere with New Zealand's societal norms, okay? So I used to, Mum and Dad at the Dutch club, we used to go to the Dutch club, we used to go to the Dutch baker and the Dutch butcher and things like, because that's the food that we were enjoyed. They're talking about when Jan went to Bangladesh, she had New Zealand food. She didn't eat the food from over there, but so it's a similar sort of thing, right? And you had German bakers, German sausages, German breads and things like that. So depending on what culture you came from is what you did, and that's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. We have Asian supermarkets around, so they're selling the Asian food, which those people enjoy eating, which is fine. We're not against that. It's when they force us to change to their way. Okay, so what do we see in the world today is that the forcing of the change of culture, especially in Europe now, and the forcing of the change of culture, we've seen also beginning in the United States, but President Donald Trump, I'll give him his title, which a lot of people don't, they just say Trump, but he's President Trump, or President Donald Trump. So we're going to look at Jesus Christ versus Muhammad just for a moment and see what the Bible teaches about freedoms and what Jesus Christ tells us, and then what Muhammad teaches, which are two different things. Okay, two different things. So I already looked at this sort of thing last week as well. Islam means submission. That's the meaning of that word, but they would have you believe that it means peace. But it's actually submission. How do you get submission? By force, don't you? You know, submit or else. It's not peaceful. You only get peace by submission, right? If there's no submission, there's no peace. So you can't say that Islam means peace when the word itself means submission. So we've got to get that clear. So when we're talking to people and talking to them about their religion, and Islam religion, for example, they're a Muslim and you know they're great, fine people, and then they're saying that Islam is peace. Well, actually, the word itself doesn't mean peace; it means submission. So how do you become a Muslim? By submitting. Yeah. Okay. But Islam is far from being peaceful. We've already seen that, and I'll make a comment or two a little later with the war against Iran. But I'll make a comment later. I won't preempt what I'm going to say. So God says, love your enemies, right? Islam says, kill your enemies. That's completely the opposite. The opposite. So let's have a look at some Bible verses. Okay? Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. Gone too far. Here we go. And verse 44. So Jesus says, love them. So we love them. And look, the Bible's, I'm just taking to this verse, but when you think about it, for God so loved the world. He doesn't exclude any race, anybody. But there is only one way to heaven, right? Just because he doesn't exclude anyone, he doesn't say there are multiple ways into heaven. There's only one way to be saved. Okay, so verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies. So when it says here, but I say unto you, the I is the Lord Jesus Christ. Now I don't know if your Bible is in red writing.
Of course.
Yep, okay. But I say unto you, love your enemies. That love, the word love there is agape. When agape means self-sacrificing love. So you sacrifice self for the other. In other words, you sacrifice yourself for your enemies. Right? So love your enemies. What's the next word? Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So there's an unconditional love that's expected from us. Okay, we love our enemies. Doesn't mean to say we agree with them. Doesn't mean to say that in the least. It doesn't mean to say we convert because of this verse. We have our rights and we stand on our rights. Okay, that's why God, as I mentioned a little bit later, tells us to put on the full armor of God. Why do we need to put on the full armor of God? Because we need to resist. We need to resist those things that are evil, those things that are wrong. And we'll make a few comments about that. I'm not sure whether I'll get to that today or not. So Jesus says, love them as he loved, right? That's why he sent his son. For God so loved the world. For God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So we don't condemn them. They're just wrong. And we'll look a little bit more about that as well. Forgive them. Let's just turn over to chapter 6, verse 14. There have been lots of Christians, and especially amongst the African nations, that have been killed by Muslims, right? Who was that? The ones... the names escape me at the moment. The group of Christians. Anyway, forgive them. Matthew 6:14 says, for if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. So we are to forgive. Forgive them for whatever they do to us. Right? Forgive them. Christ died on the cross. What did he say? Forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. You know, the same thing with Stephen as he was being stoned. Forgive them. Forgive them. So we are to forgive them, even if we might lose our lives. Because if I lose our lives, then we gain it. Okay?
Gain real life.
Yeah. Do good to them, down to verse 27. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? That's the wrong verse 27. Oh, Luke. Yeah, I was reading Matthew. Yeah. Luke. And I thought it was Matthew. Matthew, Mark, Luke. And 6:27. It says, over the page, but I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them that hate you, which hate you. Okay, love them, do good to them, to those people that hate you. All right. It is hard, but you need to do that. So, sometimes. Yeah, it might, if you really dislike somebody at work, you might just secretly give them a little gift. You know, but don't put your name on it. Just say, oh, someone likes me. Okay, bless them. Luke 6 and verse 28. So the next one down. Bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. So basically that's just a repeat of what Matthew was talking about. But Christ is saying these things. So he gave his life for us. So we need to emulate that same principle. Pray for them as well. That's what it says. Bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. So pray for them. Pray for your enemies. Okay, it's not easy to do.
Pray for your father.
Pray, yeah, pray. We just need someone to come along to witness to people. You know, they might reject us. We might be just as seed sowers, but we need someone to come and to water it, and then someone else. I don't care who reaps the benefit, but let someone do that. Okay, so. Give to them, Luke 6:35. But love ye your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great, and ye shall be the children of the highest. Now the word highest there is capitalized, so it's talking about God. For he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Yeah, I might as well include verse 36, but be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful. Okay. And that's what the next point is. Be merciful to them, Luke 36. Right? Mm-hmm. So we can see what the Bible teaches that we ought to be. There's one more here. Help them. So let's go to Luke chapter 10, 29 to 37. Luke 10, here we go, 29. But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Jesus, and who is my neighbour? And Jesus answering, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. I don't know how you can be half dead, but almost dead. Almost dead.
Half alive.
Yeah, half alive. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So the priests and the Levites were the pinnacle of their religion, okay, apart from the king, of course, the pinnacle of society. And he, with his nose in the air, walked on the other side.
Of the room.
I see nothing. I see nothing. Okay. Verse 32, and likewise a Levite. So Levites, priests, Levites, when he was at that place, came and looked on him and passed on the other side. Not a good situation. But a certain Samaritan. Now Samaritans weren't considered to be Jews even. Okay, they were the low of the lows. Okay, they weren't considered to be Jews and were treated as second-class citizens. Okay, and here is the Samaritan that comes along. Here the priest, the Levi, they were the pinnacle of society. Okay, always wore their beautiful coats and things. But here a certain Samaritan, who wasn't considered even to be a Jew, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him, and went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring oil and wine, and set him on his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence and gave them to the host, and said unto him, Take care of him, and whatsoever thou spendest more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these 3, so you've got the 3, the priest, the Levite, and the Samaritan. So which of these 3, thinkest thou, was neighbour unto him that fell among the thieves? And he said, He that showed mercy on him. Then said Jesus unto him, Go and do thou likewise. We just to show mercy. You know, we want Muslims to be saved just like any other person. Are we more afraid to witness to Muslims because of their history and what they tend to do? Because they're, we use the word fanatical, or they're very, very religious. Okay? So that's Christ, Jesus. That's what he teaches. Now, let's have a look at what Muhammad says. So he says, kill them.
Oh boy.
Okay, Surah 4:89 and Surah 9:5. Okay, 4:89. So this is this bit here. Says they wish you would disbelieve as they have disbelieved, so you may all be alike. So do not take them as allies. So if they're an unbeliever, right? Don't take them as allies unless they immigrate in the cause of Allah. Okay, so they're exiting their country to go to another country for the cause of Allah. Now we have missionaries, don't we? So people immigrate and immigrate, right? So they might immigrate from America and immigrate into New Zealand to become missionaries. But there is a difference, isn't there? But if they turn away, then seize them and kill them wherever you find them. So if they're not doing it for the cause of Allah, they're going to be killed. Do we do that? Is God saying that we should do that? No, it's completely the opposite. It's completely the opposite. and do not take any of them as allies or helpers. Okay? This verse here, 9:5. But once the sacred months have passed, that is the Muslim sacred months, or Islamic sacred months. One of them is Ramadan. Right? Kill the polytheists. We are considered polytheists to them. Yeah, but we only have one God, right? They say they're monotheists and that we're polytheists because we believe in God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. To them, that's poly, okay? Many gods, but there is only one God, all right? In the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name, not names, okay? So, kill the polytheists. That's us. Who violated their treaties wherever you find them, capture them, besiege them, and lie in wait for them on every way. But if they repent, perform prayers, and pay alms tax, then set them free. Indeed, Allah is all forgiving, most merciful.
Well, you can go back to being like that.
It's funny, it's all forgiving and most merciful only if you change to their way. Right? Otherwise,
He's cleaner.
Kill.
But you could fool them, say you repented and go and think just the same as you always did. Trick them.
Yeah. Muhammad says, crucify them. Okay, so we don't crucify today, but
They kill.
when this was written, Roman means of crucifixion was commonplace. And so Surah 5:33, indeed the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and His Messenger and spread mischief in the land is death, crucifixion. Okay, cutting off their hands and feet on opposite sides or extra. So cutting off that hand and that foot, just opposite sides. Okay, so if you're left-handed, you get your left hand cut off and your right foot. Okay, so doesn't sound very Christian, does it? Doesn't sound like very forgiving. Doesn't sound like, if I go back just one slide, Allah is all forgiving and most merciful. Not like Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world, you know. Slay them. Kill them wherever you come upon them. Alright? Fight them. Surah 8:39.
When's that going to happen? Because they don't come around killing us.
Well, they do it more subtly now, you see. But this is what? Well, I guess, I think in Britain they probably do that sort of thing.
Oh, they did it
Yeah.
over in Bondi Beach.
Yeah, in Bondi Beach.
With the Jews.
Yeah. Fight against them until there is no more persecution. Are we persecuting?
No, we're trying to teach them the way.
Yeah.
The only one.
Yeah. Slaughter them. Okay? Slaughter them. So when you meet the disbelievers in battle, strike their necks. And this is an interesting statement. And we'll look at that. We'll look at a bit of that shortly when we think of what's happening in Iran. And what is Iran doing? They're not firing rockets just against the United States or just against Israel. They're shooting rockets against their own Muslim people. Okay, so this is the funny thing here. They're supposed to be believers, and yet they're firing rockets at them. Okay, Iran is. So when you meet the disbelievers in battle, strike their necks until you have thoroughly subdued them. Then bind them firmly. Later free them either as an act of grace or by ransom. Free them by ransom. October 11th, 7th last year.
Year before now.
Okay.
It's over a year ago now.
Yeah. So that's what's happened. They're freeing them by ransom. Okay? Until the war comes to an end. So will it be. Had Allah willed, He Himself would have inflicted punishment. Why didn't he?
Well, he did through them.
But had Allah willed, he himself could have inflicted punishment on them. But he does this only to test some of you by means of others. Okay?
It's, so many words.
Yeah, it's hard to put it all
It's much
together.
easier
And
than
those
saying-
who are martyred in the cause of Allah, he will never render their deeds void. So, Osama bin Laden, and who is the one that just got killed in Iran, what's his name? Khomeini. They're standing before God now and say, well, where are all my 50 virgins, or where are all my virgins? No. Terrorize them. Surah 351. See, it's completely different to what the Bible teaches.
And what their own Bible says, peace, they're peaceful.
Well, they say they're peaceful,
Yeah.
but we know it isn't peaceful. We will cast horror into the hearts of the disbelievers for associating false gods with Allah. So, of course, we're saying that Allah is a false god. So, you will cast horror into the hearts of disbelievers. So, when you have Muslims and things on the streets with their banners and things like that, you want to stay away. Okay? Okay. So it's completely different.
So you're being a scaredy cat for staying away?
Yeah. So, Sharia law. Now, this is the next step, right? We looked at, I quickly flicked through some slides last time, showing the steps that they take to try to conquer a nation. Sharia law there's a huge problem with Sharia law. Because what law do we have? We have the Westminster Confession. Westminster Confession is under the religion, but we have the Western laws, right? Western laws. But if we adopt Sharia law, okay, the demand for Sharia law by Muslims is untenable for Western societies. Okay, it's untenable to have two laws running side by side. Okay, it's untenable. You can't have two governments. You can't have the Maori government and you have the Western government running side by side. That's why we had the Treaty of Waitangi. So they signed over their sovereignty to the United Kingdom or the Queen at that time. They signed it over. You can't have them running side by side. You can't have one law which says that I can kill a Maori and eat their flesh, and on the other side, oh no, you can't kill anybody because that's against the law. What are you going to do? You can't have both existing at the same time. So, it's untenable. And I believe it's untenable. It's unworkable. You can't work it. So most Western countries are founded on secular legal systems. Meaning the law is intended to apply equally regardless of religion. Alright? There is a problem with that. And I'll come with that in a minute. Okay? So, we're founded on a secular legal system, not on a religious legal system. Because it applies across the board. So whether you're a Muslim and you break the law, or you're a Christian and you break the law applies to both. No one is above the law, unless you're Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or somebody else, right? You can't be, no one is above the law. No one should be above the law. So and that's why it's untenable for Western societies to adopt Sharia law. You can't have them both. You either got to have one or the other. Now, when they came into New Zealand, or into Australia, or into the United States, or into Europe, they need to adopt the laws of that land. How are you going to change that? By voting in Muslims and Islamic people, who will then slowly change the laws towards Sharia law. But anyway, so laws are made by elected representatives. So we're coming to elections this year, all right? And we're going to elect representatives, not religious authorities, like they did in Iran. Well, they didn't vote. I think they was just taken over. The Shah, the prince. Who was the ruler before? The Shah of Iran, yeah.
So they got rid of him.
Rid of him, and then the religious authorities took over. Okay? The state must remain neutral between religions. Right? The state has to be neutral. It can't have or favour one with the other. Or over the other, yeah. So Sharia is viewed by believers as divinely revealed law. So the Sharia law, by its believers, I'm not saying Christians, I'm talking about Islam, right? Islam and Muhammad followers, they're saying that Sharia law is divinely revealed law. Okay? Now, just keep that in mind, because what is Western law? Okay? What is Western law? Isn't our laws divinely revealed law? The 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not be a false witness. All those are based on God's law, divinely revealed. So in this case, there's nothing different about it. But the difference is the difference between how Christ tells us to receive man and how the Quran tells us how to receive man. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, so if we have two Sharia law and the Western law together, side by side, there's an issue, because how can elected government modify or change it? If it's been divinely revealed law, can we change Sharia law? No, we can't. Because if it's divinely revealed, you can't change it. Right? They would say, no, we can't change the law. We can't change Sharia law. Do we do the same sort of thing for our Western laws? Do we change our laws that are based on divinely revealed law? Yes, we do, don't we? And we'll look at some of those in a minute. Okay, so whether elected governments could modify or change it. Okay, they can't do it. That's that question. If we're going to adopt Sharia law and Western law, can we change Sharia law? No. What changes? Well, Western law, doesn't it? It always goes the other way. And whether Sharia religious courts could override civil law. Could Sharia, and who would be the judge? Who would be the judge? If we have the two coming side by side, you say, oh, this person is a Muslim. I wonder how quickly they would change to becoming a Christian and say they want to be judged under the Western culture. Because Sharia law is very strict. Very strict. Whereas the Western culture, there's some leeway. Okay? The maximum penalty is 10 years in jail. But I'm going to give you 2 years, and then I'll give you an opportunity for parole. Whereas Sharia law will say, I'm going to give you 10 years, and at the end of 10 years, you're going to come out, but you're going to come out without any hands. You're going to cut them off. So you won't be able to steal anything anymore. Okay? So we have this Sharia law and the attempt to introduce it into other countries. Okay? So we looked at this also. What ruling would you give on wearing the burqa? So if we're having the Sharia law and the Western culture law running side by side, you would say, well, under Sharia law, that's fine. But under Western law, are we going to say, oh yeah, we'll allow it? Will we change our laws, or will we stop our laws?
COVID times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they have it?
No, the problem is this person a male or a female?
We don't know. Eh?
Don't really know, do we? We
Well,
can sort of look at their eyes and say, okay, well, their eyelashes, they look like they've put some makeup on or something. Well, you wouldn't be sure.
Yeah, you
wouldn't-
wouldn't.
Not
Only the
sure.
women have to.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
I only
How
know-
could you identify such a person?
A bad man could.
Because this person was a witness to you had a car accident, right? And this person says, no, it's your fault. And you say, no, it's your fault. And here's a person walking down the street in a burqa who's a witness to it and says, yeah, I saw it all happen. Okay? How could you identify such a person?
Eyes. Eyes.
Okay? What about banking situation? You know, I went into a bank once
Wearing a cap.
wearing a cap. I got told to take it off.
Mm.
This person walks in.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
fine.
sad.
Mm.
It's because it's your cap.
So that's, you know, that's. What about getting a car license? You know, you've got your picture, your photograph on your car license, don't you? But these people are not allowed to be out of their burqa
Maybe they,
when they're in public.
do they drive?
Yeah, they do. Have you not seen them drive? Hopefully this doesn't slip. And you can't see. Okay. So what about
Never seen anyone with that on driving.
what about? No, we don't see many of them full burqas in New Zealand, do you?
Many
What about
in-
passport?
Why not?
Many in my hometown.
You know, passport. You've got to have a photo and a passport, and you've got to go through all sorts of.
They obviously
Things.
don't drive. So they
Well,
won't
you
take that
don't need a passport to drive.
Oh, no,
You need a passport to travel overseas. Okay.
How
So-
they get here?
Yeah. Well, that's probably why there's not many people in burqas. Okay.
Must be a lot
What
of
about
other
what
ones.
about this one?
Yeah, I was going to say it could be a man.
Yeah, it could be a man dressed up in a burqa and pretend to be a woman.
Like a gay.
Well, no, they wouldn't be allowed to be gay.
Oh, no.
That's like in a way
They're not allowed to be gay.
burqa.
So
Oh, I don't
you know,
know.
if you got Sharia law and Western culture laws running side by side, what is acceptable under Sharia law would be acceptable, but we wouldn't say that's acceptable. That's not acceptable under Western law, right? So you say, okay, would this be more acceptable under Western law?
See a bit more of her.
You could see a bit more of her. Would it be
Recognise
more-
her by her eyes.
Yeah.
Just a lady.
Yeah. Even within Islam, there are different standards from radical Muslim to those that are more moderate. So when I was a school teacher, I used to talk to these girls, these kids, and boys too, but mainly the girls who were wearing the hijab. I'll go into the next slide. Wearing that, right? Most of them wear that. And I talked to them about why are they wearing that as opposed to the face coverings or the full burqas. And they just were open to me and they said, well, it depends on those that are more moderate, you know, like we hold to the King James. Are we more extreme because we don't have the NIV or we don't believe in the NIV or any of the other perversions? So that would be the similar sort of thing. So most of the Muslims today, or the kids that go to school, wear this sort of thing. And you know that they're Muslim because, you know, you see your faith. You wouldn't know much about the boys because they just wear their school uniform. They don't do anything.
They just look.
They just look, yeah. So, so the different standards of Muslim, radical Muslim to those that are more moderate. So you would say that this person is more moderate. So this person here would be more stronger Muslim than this person here. This person here would argue against this person that saying, oh, you need to cover your face. This person would say, no, you don't need to cover your face. Then you have this person here who would be arguing against this person
Taken through a slot.
because this person is saying, you need to only have your eyes showing.
I think they're the most
Right?
religious.
So they're saying, and this person saying, oh no, we can have a little bit of leeway. And this person here would say, this person here has got to be killed. Or dealt with. Because, this is what we're supposed to be. So there's different standards for different believers. And then you have this person here.
Gonna look like a letterbox.
Yeah. And then you have this person here.
Yeah.
Who would then be arguing against this person.
She's,
Because you're seeing your eyes.
she's far too modern.
Liberal. Far too this person is far too liberal for
Liberal.
all these. But this person is far too liberal for this person.
Oh, she needs to hide her hands.
So, which would be acceptable in our culture? When you consider that you need photographic evidence of who you are for a driver's license, for a passport. Okay?
Do they do it to get away with murder?
No, don't know. And so you see people walking along the street, not mainly in America, different places in Europe, you'd see them walking along like that.
Looking like a letterbox.
I mean, what a way to dress, really.
Especially on a hot day.
Yeah. So in Japan has put anti-Islamic laws in place. So, halal meat. Look, we have halal meat, right? All meat is really killed a halal way, right? In New Zealand.
Now,
Yeah. But in Japan it's banned.
the only ones with any guts.
And, well, we don't hear much about Japan really, do we?
No.
Jan said the other day, we don't hear much about Japan. Mosques are banned. Call to prayer is banned.
And the burqa.
And burqa is banned. Of course, they have their own religion. And so maybe they're forcing people not to go the Islamic way. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that. But there must be some reasoning behind it for them to do that. Alright? You can't have two different laws running side by side. You have a problem with the way you judge. We're going to let this person get away with that, but we're not going to let that person get away with the same thing if they're...
In the same country.
Yeah, so if they're... Yeah, you can't have it. You can't have it. So how would Sharia law be applied in a mixed religious marriage? If we have two law systems?
Wouldn't work.
Well, it wouldn't work. And as I said here, could such a marriage happen actually? Such a marriage can't happen. So the application of the Western law versus Sharia law would be too complicated. You either have one or the other. And because they're immigrating, right? Immigrating, it's coming into New Zealand, they adopt the New Zealand laws. We don't have two separate law systems.
The Dutch law.
One based on religion and one based on a secular thing. So the application of the Western law versus Sharia law would be too complicated. How would appeals be handled? So I appeal, and who would be the judge? When you've got two law systems running side by side, you can't do it. It's the same thing as what New Zealand is trying to adopt having the Maori law system, or Maori government, and New Zealand government running side by side. You can't do it. Who makes the laws? Who are they? Who's making the law on behalf of whom?
Who wins?
Yeah, you can't do it. It's just ridiculous. So we're living in a Western society with secular laws and freedoms based on the Christian Judeo laws, right? Christian Judeo laws. Laws contained here, don't we? That's what we live by. We just saw that, all those verses, love your enemies, okay? Pray for your enemies. Bless them.
Don't kill them.
Okay? Don't kill them. That's right. So we are living in this secular laws and freedoms based on the Christian Judeo laws. But these laws will ultimately lead to problems. Okay? The laws that we're living under today will ultimately become watered down. Especially if society continues to become more and more secular. That is non-Christian or even anti-Christian. The laws that we have in our land, which are based on the Christian Judeo law system, right, from the Bible, over time will slowly become more and more secular. Laws that are based on the Bible will ultimately be changed. Ultimately, laws that are in the Bible, and we'll look at them in a minute, will be changed. Will be changed. Sharia laws are based on Islamic faith and are being strictly adhered to. Right? They shouldn't be changed. They would say these are God, meaning Allah, ordained laws. We cannot change these laws because Allah has put them in place. They're written in the Quran, and we follow these laws strictly. And we have a Western culture who says we have a Christian Judeo laws, but we're really a secular country. We used to be a Christian country, but we're now a secular country. What does that mean? Well, we're not Christian, we're not any religion, in theory. So Judeo-Christian Western laws are based on the Christian morality, which are based on the Bible, right? That's where most of our laws have come from over the centuries. In America, when they came across on the Mayfair, they were Christians, right? They came over and they adopted the laws of the Bible. They brought the laws, they brought their Bible, everything was brought across. We bring our Bible across, we use the laws according to the Bible. These standards should be strictly, have I written that for you? T in there, yeah.
Strict.
Yeah, okay. English is not my first language. Adhere to, okay? We would say, wouldn't we? As a Christian, we should stick to the laws of the Bible, not to the laws of the land. And then sometimes we need to disobey the government because of what the Bible teaches, right? So if the government says, thou shalt not pass out Christian tracts, or thou shalt not witness, or thou shalt not read the Bible, or whatever, it's a law. We have to say, no, I have this freedom to read the Bible, I have a freedom to witness to different people. So we have these standards, which are biblical standards. Just like Sharia laws are strictly, I got that right there, strictly adhered to, right? And our Christian morality or the laws that are based on the Judeo-Christian values should also be strictly adhered to. You'd agree with that? They would agree with that.
Wrong down here again.
And that there? Okay. But are they? Are these Judeo-Christian Western laws strictly adhered to?
No, they're changing them when they can.
Right. Sadly, our Western laws, which are based on the Bible, are being rewritten to accommodate left-leaning secular society. They're moving away, further and further away from the Bible, and we're going to rewrite the laws which were based on the Bible so they're no longer valid, okay, in our society. So laws that were once based on the God of the Bible are now based on man. Man and a woman living together are commonplace, living without marriage. Commonplace. What's the Bible say? Let's turn to 1 Thessalonians 5:22. 1 Thessalonians 5:22. First Thessalonians 5:22. Yep. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Okay. So what's happened in our society under these laws, where it says abstain from all appearance of evil? It's not when evil appears to abstain from it, but anything that looks evil, abstain from it. Right? You can't have sex without marriage. It's fornication. It's fornication. And the Bible speaks out against fornication. And if you're living together as a man and a woman, the appearance of evil. You might not be doing this, well, I'm not having sex outside of marriage. But you're living together and you've got an appearance of evil. So therefore, our laws are accommodating this, aren't they? Because you don't have to get married to live together. Whereas before, you weren't allowed to. Okay? What about divorce and remarriage? Are now also commonplace. What does the Bible say about divorce and remarriage? No. But let's go to Matthew chapter 19. Sadly though, the church is adopting a lot of these laws as well and saying, okay, how many times, what was his name? American pastor, how many times was he divorced and remarried? Independent. Ruckman. Yeah, Peter Ruckman. So they just take it away, that's old laws. We're now, much more improved man. Yeah. Anyway, divorce and remarriage, Matthew 19 verses 7 and 8, what does it say? 7 says, and they say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? Now this is where these Pharisees and the scribes are trying to trick Jesus. Okay, they're saying because Jesus taught no divorce, and so but we got you now, because they say unto him, why did Moses then command you to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? Now what is his reply to them? He says, he saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. So even the people during that time have moved away, even in Moses' time, moved away from God's standard and forcing Moses to allow them to divorce their wives. But Christ says from the beginning it wasn't so. This wasn't meant to be like this. But because of the hardness of your hearts, it is like this. And so we see that coming through to our laws today. Right? We could say exactly the same thing as Christ said. The beginning it was not so. What about prostitution, which is now legal? It's still illegal in some countries, but prostitution is legal in New Zealand. Leviticus chapter 21. And verse 7. Thou shalt not take a wife that is a whore, or profane, neither shall they take a woman put away from her husband, for he is holy unto his God. So there's no divorce remarriage, but that's not the point. For this here, prostitution is illegal in New Zealand. The law said, they shall not take a wife that is a whore. Okay? What about transgenderism and homosexuality, which is now legal? I mean, if we were to stand up and say, no, that's not right, we would be the bad people. But remember, our laws are supposed to be based on Christian Judeo society, right, and morals, but it's supposed to be strictly adhered to, but it's being eroded. It's being eroded. So let's look at Leviticus, since we're in Leviticus. Just go back to chapter 18. Verses 22 and 23. 18:22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind. It is abomination. There you go. Don't need to read any more, really. But let's go to 23. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before the beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. So God is against homosexuality. God is against bestiality. God is against any sexual sins. All right? And yet, here we are. We're making it legal. Oh, but the law says that I can lie with mankind or womankind. You know, woman with woman, man with man. But thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Go over to Deuteronomy. The first law, the second law, Deuteronomy 23. With freedom there comes a price, doesn't it? Freedom of religion, freedom laws, and not having to strictly adhere to these laws, because we will just rewrite them. Okay, chapter 23 and verse 17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Sodomites are homosexuals, right? No whore, which means prostitution, nor a sodomite. Clearly, God is against that. Laws have been written here. These are the laws that we're supposed to abide by. Then, okay, those are Old Testament. Somebody may say, oh, they're just Old Testament, you know. Like we saw with tithing. You can't bring those Old Testament things and bring them into the New Testament. Well, as we saw with tithing, we can bring it into the New Testament. can't we? So 1 Corinthians. So it's no longer now just, oh, that's the Old Testament. It's now in the New Testament. Okay, so 1 Corinthians 6, verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, right? Nor abusers of themselves with mankind. Homosexuality. And it continues on. Nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. That's in the New Testament. What Paul has done now is taken the Old Testament laws and taken them and plonked them into the New Testament. So now you can't say, oh, that's just Old Testament, because here it is, it's in the New Testament. It's still applicable today. God hasn't changed his mind. Okay, so then you say, okay, what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? Yeah, destroyed. Why? Because of sodomy, homosexuality. So is it right for homosexuality now? No. God even speaks out against it. And even the effeminate he talks about. Cross-dressers and people who want to, men who want to be women and women who want to be men.
Crazy.
Crazy, right? Shortwave.
What about euthanasia and abortion, which is now legal? If you want to die, yep, just go to the doctor, and it's getting easier and easier to get now. It's actually too easy in Canada, you know. Family can just get together and say, look, I want to get rid of my mother.
Because she's Alzheimer's.
Yeah. Abortion. Oh boy, that's so easy to get. You know. The laws have changed. But was that the case? If we turn to Exodus chapter 20. Yeah. That knows the 10 Commandments? Because of 20 divided by 2. You've got to throw in a bit of maths, don't you?
You do.
Well, I do. Okay, 20 and verse 3. Hang on. 13, sorry. Exodus 20, verse 13.
Well, about the thou shalt not kill part.
Thou shalt not kill is 13, yes. And that's what we're talking about. Euthanasia
Yeah.
is killing.
Killing.
Abortion, killing. Bible
Murder.
says thou shalt not kill.
Murder.
Ah, but
Thou
that's
shalt
the
not
Old
murder.
Testament. So let's go to the New Testament. Matthew. Nineteen. 1918. Wasn't it the end of the First World War?
Was he your mum's fault?
I'm not quite. No, I wasn't quite born then. Had to wait another 50 years, half a century before I was born. Okay, 1918. It says, He saith unto him, which, Jesus saith, Thou shalt do no murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not be a false witness. So which of those laws is still in effect? Well, you can commit adultery, can't you?
You're not meant to.
Not meant to.
Well, they're committing murder now.
Thou shalt not steal. That's still a law. You can't steal. Unless you steal back something which you loaned somebody and they never gave it back. So you have to steal it back.
If you can find it.
Yeah. So, you know, you can tick the things that have, you know, gone. Thou shalt not bear false witness. You know, that's still talking about that in trials. You have to have that one.
You gotta tell the truth.
You've got to tell the truth, don't you, in a trial?
Like
It's a white lie.
Hillary did the
Yeah,
other day.
a white lie. Okay, so laws. We're living in a country where we have Western culture laws, which is supposed to be secular, not based on religion like Sharia law. And yet our laws are Judeo-Christian laws based on the Bible. But over time, as society moves further and further and further away from God, these laws have changed. As we've just seen. Okay?
Yeah.
They've changed. Even though the Bible clearly states what they are, but we're just saying, okay, we're free to do whatever we like.
People are away from the
Yeah.
Bible, so they change them.
Yeah. They don't like what they're reading in the Bible. Just being aware of the time as well. And you can think of many other laws that are being changed or talked about changing. There's lots of things that are being changed. Let's just go to Proverbs and just finish very shortly. Get a couple of more slides and then we'll finish there. What are we doing? Proverbs. Proverbs. It's Proverbs. It's Solomon, the son of David, so he comes after. Oops, and I'm talking and I can't do two things at once. Okay. 16. Proverbs 6:16 says, These things doth the Lord hate.
Six things. These 6 things.
What did I say?
These things.
Oh, these 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. So euthanasia and abortion fit into there. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. Verse 18, and heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. Sometimes the government, they're unwittingly doing that. Okay. Feet that be swift in running to mischief. A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among the brethren. So those are the 7 things that God hates. God hates. So we've got to maintain ourselves within those boundaries of those things. Right? You can't change any of those things. Is God going to say, okay, a lying tongue is acceptable now? No. Is God going to say, hands that shed innocent blood, that's okay? No, of course not. None of those things. They're all bound in that. Things that God hates. So God has given governments, right? So even though the governments are changing the laws, moving away from the Christian Judeo Bible, the rules, but God has given governments to rule on His behalf, right? To ensure that His standards are maintained. So God gives governments to maintain His standards of this thing here. What does the government do?
Goes away from them.
Yes, they move away from God and follow man. After all, it's man that's going to vote for these MPs, hey? So, have you got the ear of the MP? So, let's look at Romans 13. Romans 13. This is what the government should be doing. But as we've already seen, they've moved away from doing those things. Some things they're still doing, because they haven't changed those laws yet. And it depends, I guess, on which party is ruling. So we're going to start from verse 1 down to verse 10. It says, let every soul be subject unto the higher power. So we're subject to the higher power. So At the moment, we're subject to our government. To the next level up would be the one that's under the king. Who can sack a government?
The Governor General.
Governor General, who is acting on behalf of the
King.
king. Okay, so we're subject to those higher powers. Okay, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. In other words, there's no higher power but God.
There's loads of ones,
Yeah.
ones in there.
And even there's a king, and there's a governor general, and there's MPs, and there's policemen, that they're all higher powers that we're subject to, but the ultimate power is God, who has ordained governments to rule on his behalf,
But they don't.
to ensure his standards are being maintained. Okay? That's why we have this word, and we're saying that doesn't match what you're doing in Parliament, and what your laws you're changing is not what is written in God's word. So let's go on to verse 2. So, there's many layers of power, but the ultimate power is God. Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. So, if you resist what the government has put into place, ultimately that has been ordained by God, you're resisting God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. So, I've got written in my margin here, in my Bible, a good government will fulfill his obligation to its people. A good government will fulfill its obligation to its people. However, governments can and do go bad. So, for example, communism, dictatorships. These types of governments take away liberties which are God-given and impede Christians in serving the Lord. So, there are sometimes we can and should resist the government. Okay? Verse 3. For rulers are not a terror to good works. Okay, you shouldn't be afraid of rulers, shouldn't be afraid of the policemen or governments or whatever, the king, because they do good works. If you're doing the good works. If you're being good, should be no problem. But they're there for the evil. Yeah, that's right. That's what I said. Government will fulfill its obligation to its people, but to the evil. So, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. So people who do evil things, they should be afraid of the government, of the police, etc. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt receive praise of the same. Isn't that what we have? You know, we have, sadly, there's too many wealthy people getting awards, you know, in a country. Yeah. We as commoners, we do the right thing all the time, and yet we don't become sir, you know, because we haven't started a company or whatever. And we're not sportsmen, you know, elite sportsmen. How many elite sportsmen get noticed in the King's Honours List or New Year's Honours List and things like that? But however, if you do good, then you have praise of the same.
We're waiting for the ultimate.
The ultimate, yeah. For he is the minister, this is verse 4, for he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. Okay? So God has given the authority to a government to be able to take your life. That's what its sword is all about. So if you murder somebody, the authority by the government is that it can take your life.
Life for life.
Yeah.
It's the penalty.
But,
only.
of course, what has it done?
They've done away with
They've
it.
done away with it because, or we might put some innocent person in jail
Or to death.
or to death. We might put some innocent person to death. Okay?
They'd have that.
For he is a minister of God, a revenger. See, revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Say, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But the Lord has given the government the authority to carry out that vengeance. Okay? Verse 5. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute, so you have to pay taxes also. So who's the inscription on the thing? Also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. So they're busy, just like pastors, you know, they're working away, preparing messages, keeping things going on and things. So they didn't work, and so therefore they get paid to do their work. And the same thing with government officials. That's what taxes are all about. Okay? Verse 7. Render therefore to all their dues, tax, praise, their title. So it's Prime Minister, or Minister, or President, or King. Give what their due, the title, their love. Tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom is due. Well, I'll just put that in there. Custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear. That's not being afraid, but it can mean that too. And honour to whom honour. Owe no man anything, but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet, and if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbour, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. So if we all live in love, if we all do that, then there's no problem. But if there is a problem, you break the law, then the government is able to work on God's behalf. However, I've made the statement, okay? God has given governments to rule on his behalf. And as long as the government does what God instituted it to do, to ensure that his standards are maintained, we need to be obedient to the government. But if they're not, we just can't say, okay, euthanasia is legal now. So Jan's getting a bit old and she's got sore parts. So let's just
Knock her off.
come together and just knock her off. You know? Can't do that. You have to be disobedient to the government.
I want to, but
Okay? So his standards are to be maintained. God's standards are to be maintained. And we've already changed a lot of that standard. We also don't have, you know, the death penalty any longer. Prostitution is legal. Where's society going?
downhill.
Is that still applicable to the employer? That we need to obey?
Yeah.
The employer?
Yeah.
If they will tell you for the COVID vaccine, you need to obey?
Oh no, but that's a freedom issue. That's a freedom issue. You are, or your body is autonomous. Your body is autonomous. You know, you don't give up your freedoms. You don't give up your freedoms.
You know, America's for freedom.
Yeah, and we are. We're based on freedom, aren't we? Freedom of religion. You know, if they say to you, "Oh no, you need to be Muslim now," then what are you going to do? Because you've already taken a COVID vaccine, you say, "Oh well, I'm being obedient to the government." Now the government says, "Now we've become a communist country." No, of course not. It's encroaching on your freedoms.
So the same if it's a Catholic, your company, and then they will ask you to, you need to come to church here. You need to go to the,
Yeah, no,
I
that's
will not
no,
follow
that's
that one.
encroaching
Then
on your
I will be
freedoms.
sacked. That would
Yeah.
be fine. I will be.
Yeah. Now, their employer might be a Roman Catholic, and so then they're faced with the situation. What are you going to do? Are you going to fire this person? And there's been many companies that have had, or Christian companies who try to hire Christian workers,
You're not allowed to.
but they're not allowed to. So then it becomes an issue with the government and the laws. So they can't force you to do that. They can ask you to leave, but if they hired you in the first place, otherwise they need to have that signature saying, I, Eva, will worship at whatever.
That is freedom.
It's freedom.
I get it now.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish there, and if you could just push the button. Thank you.